5 chances you cannot miss to hold the Dark Chosen One's rarest powers. There are moments in your life when time doesn't just pass, it splits. A silent fracture opens, and suddenly, without any warning, the universe offers you a chance. Not a chance you can schedule, prepare for, or understand in the moment. It's a vibration, a whisper, a doorway carved into the dark. And if you're not fully present, you miss it. These aren't opportunities you chase. These are tests wrapped in chaos, revelations disguised as breakdowns. And the Dark Chosen Ones, those of us marked by shadow, silence, suffering, and strength, we don't get many of these chances. But when they come, they are the gateways to our rarest powers. Not the kind of powers that boost ego. The kind of powers that turn your soul into a living blade of truth. These chances don't make you popular. They make you undeniable. But here's the secret most will never tell you: you can miss them. You can walk past your own greatness. You can live an entire life carrying the codes of a warrior while playing the role of a victim. And the only thing separating those who awaken from those who fade is recognition. Can you see the gate while it's still invisible? Can you choose yourself when it feels like the whole world is abandoning you? Because the first chance to activate your rarest power always shows up in disguise as isolation.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
It doesn't feel like power at first. It feels like punishment. People fall away. Conversations feel hollow. You walk into rooms and feel invisible, or worse, seen but misunderstood, and the deepest part of your being begins to ache. Not because you're weak, but because your soul is detoxing from everything false. This kind of isolation isn't loneliness. It's soul seclusion, a sacred quarantine before the download arrives. And this moment, if you avoid it, if you rush to distract yourself, if you chase relationships just to fill the void, you miss the first chance. Because what's trying to awaken inside you cannot bloom in noise. It needs silence. It needs you to feel every part of yourself that's been exiled. It needs to show you your pain not as a flaw, but as a compass. Have you ever sat so long in your own energy that you began to hear the parts of you you'd buried? The child who was silenced, the lover who gave too much, the visionary who traded magic for safety. In that silence, if you dare to face it, you'll start to hear a new voice, one that's not reactive or afraid. It's older than your mind. It's the ancient part of you, watching, waiting. That's the first chance to stop running from solitude and start listening in it. Because that's where the blueprint for your rarest power gets revealed. The second chance doesn't arrive gently, but arrives through conflict, a betrayal, a confrontation, a breakdown. Something shatters, and your entire nervous system lights up like fire. Most people react. They defend, escape, collapse, or retaliate. But here's where the Dark Chosen Ones must see differently. This isn't just an emotional trigger. This is a summoning. You are being provoked for a reason. Your ego is screaming because your essence is being called forward. And if you breathe into the pain, instead of reacting to it, if you sit in the eye of the emotional storm, instead of becoming the storm, you unlock something few ever touch, but in a command. A. The power to hold your center when everything around you wants to pull you out of it. This kind of command doesn't just make you stronger. It makes you magnetic, because energy respects those who can hold stillness in chaos. The universe begins to bend around you not because you fought, but because you became immovable. People start looking at you differently. Not because you said something wise, but because you didn't wobble. And that power, the ability to not react, is one of the rarest abilities of all. But it only becomes yours when you pass this second gate, when you stop trying to win the battle and instead witness it for what it is: a mirror, a test, a hidden invitation to reclaim what you've always been capable of. And what if I told you the third chance never announces itself? It shows up when you're tired, when you've already done the work, when you think you've arrived. It's the moment after the breakthrough, the test after the initiation. It's the temptation to coast, to settle, to believe that this is enough. But the rarest powers, they're buried under the illusion of comfort. And if you stop climbing when the path gets smooth, you miss the exact moment when your vibration was about to unlock the next level. This chance is subtle. It's not a scream, it's a whisper that says, "Keep going." Can you feel it? That moment when everything in your life tells you to relax, but something deeper inside says, "You're not done yet?" This is where most stop. They build a small life just outside the gate of their highest destiny. They choose safety just before they could become sacred. They let consistency die in the name of peace. But peace without growth is just paralysis. The third chance is about continuation, not to exhaust yourself, but to honor your capacity, to realize that your soul didn't bring you this far just to heal. It brought you here to transmit, to create, and to bend time with your presence. And that only happens when you say yes to the whisper that says, "There's still more to become." Do you know what happens when you recognize that whisper and move anyway? The fourth chance starts to reveal itself. But that's for next. Because if the first three weren't seen, the rest can never unfold. The edge of destiny, the moment you must betray the life that isn't yours. There comes a moment, a sharp, burning moment, when everything you've built begins to feel wrong, not because it failed, but because it was never fully yours. It was borrowed, inherited, constructed from survival. The job that paid the bills but buried your gift. The relationship that kept you warm but left your soul starving. The persona that made you likable but turned you into a ghost of yourself. And at this moment, if you're awake, you'll feel a quiet death begin inside. A sacred discomfort that whispers, "This isn't it." This is the fourth chance, and it may be the most dangerous one to miss. Because it asks for something that terrifies the human part of you. It asks you to betray the version of yourself that was never real to begin with, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. It asks you to disappoint others who were only ever in love with your mask. It demands you burn the bridge between your truth and their comfort. And it will not wait for your convenience. This is the moment when your soul leans in and says, either you choose yourself fully now, or you die by degrees for the rest of your life. You will be tested here, deeply, not by outside events, but by your own hesitation. You'll begin negotiating with destiny. Maybe I can keep parts of the old life, you'll think. Maybe I can just change a little and still be accepted. But every ounce of compromise is a slow poison. The life that isn't yours will not adapt to your expansion. It will suffocate it, slowly, lovingly, casually, until one day you forget what you were even called to do. And that's how most dark chosen ones lose their power, not through catastrophe, but through comfort that wasn't aligned. So how do you know if you're at this edge? You feel it in your body. Every cell begins to rebel. You feel emotionally full, but spiritually starved. You feel seen, but not recognized. You smile in rooms that make your soul shrink. You perform rituals that no longer resonate. And deep down, you feel the betrayal not from others, but from yourself. That's the sign. And here is your chance. Your rare and sacred chance to betray the illusion and to walk out. Not to escape, but to finally enter your true life. The dark chosen one cannot rise through compromise. The universe will not give you your rarest power while you're still negotiating your authenticity. You have to say the thing you've been afraid to say. You have to leave the space that no longer reflects you. You have to stop explaining your truth to people who benefit from your silence. And when you do, when you take that leap, the air changes. Your vibration recalibrates. The dimension around you shifts. It doesn't happen instantly, but the decision itself is the portal. The moment you betray the life that isn't yours, you become eligible to hold the power that is. But here's the hard part. You don't get immediate proof. You don't get applause. In fact, it might feel like nothing happens. Or worse, everything falls apart. People leave. Money dries up. Doubt creeps in. And this is the final test within this fourth chance. Will you still choose your truth without reward? Will you hold your frequency even when nothing reflects it back? Will you honor your soul, even if it means standing alone longer than you thought you could? Because what's happening in that moment isn't punishment. It's reconstruction. The universe is stripping away the old structures so that it can make room for the power you're about to hold. But it can't give you what you asked for if you're still trying to carry the old life on your back. There's no space for both, and that's why this chance is sacred. Because very few will ever choose to leap when there's no promise of landing. But the ones who do, they don't just evolve. They become the signal for others to do the same. And when you pass through this, when you fully betray what no longer serves your soul, you'll find something waiting. Not safety, not certainty, but alignment, a deep sense of rightness. A silence that doesn't scream anymore but hums with resonance. You feel it in your breath, in your posture, in your aura. You walk differently. You listen deeper. You begin to attract not just people but codes, memories, upgrades, and you start dreaming clearer. Synchronicities increase. And your intuition? It sharpens like a blade, because you're no longer living halfway. But there's one more gate, one final chance, the rarest of all, and most don't even know when they're facing it, because it's disguised as something holy. But it's not. It's the last illusion. And if you miss it, all the power you've built could still go dormant, forever. The final trap, why the last chance to hold power is hidden in the light. This last chance doesn't come in the dark. It doesn't come through heartbreak, betrayal, or chaos. It comes softly, through admiration, and through praise, through the illusion of arrival. And that's what makes it the most dangerous trap of all. Because once you've done the work, survived the isolation, tamed the storms, walked away from the life that wasn't yours, you start to shine. You carry weight in your energy, You speak with clarity. People start to listen. You begin to attract attention, maybe even reverence. And in that moment, without realizing it, you're offered something subtle: applause, agreement, validation. And your ego, long starved for recognition, begins to feel full. But here's the hidden truth. The fifth and final chance to hold the rarest power doesn't arrive in suffering, it arrives in success. It arrives when you're most celebrated. Because it's here that your ego returns in a new form, wearing robes of humility and language of service. It says all the right things. It pretends to be your ally. But its mission is to keep you static. It whispers, "You've done enough." It tempts you with the illusion that the mountain has been climbed. But the dark chosen one was never meant to climb mountains. We were born to move them. This is the moment where you must see clearly, because the applause of the world can be louder than the whisper of your soul. You may be seen as powerful, but only you know if you've truly gone as far as your soul can go. Only you know if there's still something deeper waiting to be uncovered. And this is the trap: to fall in love with your own reflection, and to fall asleep while being admired for who you once were, rather than awakening to who you are still becoming. This chance is quiet, almost invisible. It comes when your calendar is full of spiritual appointments, when your words inspire others but no longer pierce you, when your identity as a healer or mentor or guide becomes a shell of comfort, a container that limits your expansion. You're still helping others, but inside, something feels still, numb, mechanical. Your truth is no longer moving you. You start repeating yourself, not out of alignment, but because it works. And that's when it happens, the rarest power starts to withdraw. Not because you're wrong, but because you've stopped reaching for what's beyond the light. Have you ever asked yourself, what am I still afraid to lose now that I've found myself? What part of my identity have I built on being right, being respected, being spiritual? Can I still empty myself and begin again, even after being admired for where I've already arrived? That's the final chance, the willingness to shed your own light, to transcend the very teachings that brought you power, to drop the certainty you're known for and return to the questions that once cracked you open. Because rare power doesn't rest in what you know, it rests in how willing you are to let it all burn again and again for a deeper truth to emerge. Very few pass this gate. They stay in the glow of what they've already become. They maintain their platform, their image, their message. But they stop changing. And when you stop changing, your vibration plateaus. Your energy becomes reliable, but not revolutionary. And the world doesn't need more reliable. It needs the unpredictable frequency of souls who are still willing to be undone in public, if that's what truth demands. So, what happens if you take this chance? If you release the need to be someone again, even after you've already become someone powerful, something rare occurs. You don't just hold power, you become it. Not as a title, not as an identity, as a force of nature. You stop using words to explain yourself. Your presence becomes instruction. Your stillness becomes sermon. You begin to tap into a flow of information, wisdom, and multidimensional clarity that most people never even sense in this lifetime. But only if you're willing to step into the void one last time, when the world finally believes you've made it. The rarest reward, What happens after you say yes to all 5 chances? When you say yes to all 5 chances, something irreversible happens. You cross a threshold that cannot be undone. Not because the world around you suddenly changes, but because you become a different force inside it. You no longer carry your power like a tool to be used. It becomes your nature. You stop reaching for it, practicing it, trying to activate it. It lives through you. It speaks through your eyes. It walks with your breath. And the most stunning realization is that there is nothing to do anymore. But you've become what you were always destined to remember, the embodiment of untamed, unfiltered, uncompromising alignment. You didn't just pass spiritual tests. You answered a cosmic invitation that most souls avoid for lifetimes. But here's what no one tells you about reaching this stage. The reward isn't glory. It's not safety. It's not even peace in the way most people understand it. The true reward is responsibility. Because once you carry rare power, the universe begins to respond to your very being. Thoughts manifest quicker. Intentions ripple further. Your influence multiplies not through effort, but through resonance. The world bends to accommodate your clarity, but so does the responsibility. You become a mirror to others, and some will love you for it, while others will despise you. Not because of what you've done, but because of what your presence forces them to confront within themselves. And yet, you won't shrink. You can't. Because the reward isn't in how others perceive you, it's in how truth now lives inside your body. It's in how you sleep at night, knowing there is no gap between who you are and what you offer. It's in how your decisions no longer come from fear, but from alignment. You no longer ask if you're ready. You no longer wait for permission. You feel a pulse, an inner thunder, and you move. And every move you make creates waves in realms most people have never touched. You begin to attract connections that feel ancient, effortless. You speak, and people remember things they didn't know they forgot. You sit in silence and others begin to weep, not because you said something profound, but because your field carries decades of pain transmuted into grace. You no longer chase synchronicities, but you are one. You no longer seek magic. You become magnetic. But let's be real, this level of frequency is not for the faint-hearted. You will be misunderstood more, not less. You will be judged more, not less. Your ability to disturb falsehood becomes more potent, not less. Because rare power doesn't just create, it disrupts. It fractures illusion just by existing. And this is why the 5th chance, hidden in the light, is the hardest one to take. Because it separates you, not out of ego, but because you now stand in a vibration that is completely unfamiliar to the world. And yet, the separation brings with it a paradoxical closeness. You feel more connected to existence than ever before. You speak less, but your love becomes total. You no longer need to hold space for everyone. You hold space for truth. And those who are ready will rise to meet you not because you taught them, but because you embodied what they forgot was possible. You walk with a kind of knowing that cannot be taken, not by failure, not by loss, not even by death. Because your rarest power is not in what you control. It's in what you surrendered to fully. You surrendered to the destruction, the void, the call, the choice, the light disguised as a trap. And because you did, life now flows through you unobstructed. You've become a portal not for knowledge, but for activation. And here's the final truth. Most people will never see what you had to go through to get here. They will not know the weight of the silence, the burn of the betrayal, the emptiness of starting over, the temptation to stop. But you'll know, and that knowing becomes your strength. You'll carry it into every room, every conversation, every creation, not as a badge, but as a field, one that changes the atmosphere, one that reminds others that it is possible to die and live again without losing your fire. So if you've been wondering where your rarest power is hiding, it's never been outside of you. It's in the chances you were given. It's in the moments you almost walked away but didn't. It's in the pain you didn't bypass. The leap you took when nothing was guaranteed. The truth you told when it cost you everything. You were never meant to beg for power. You were meant to recognize it, to carry it with reverence. And now that you've said yes to all 5 chances, you no longer hold power like a gift. You are the gift. Welcome to the realm few ever reach. You've earned it. Now wield it.